Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us yet again for Wild Moments, brought to you by Africam and, of course, powered by Explore.org. It's me, Trishala, and we have the great Taylor McCurdy with us. Hi, Taylor.
Hello, Trish. Nice to see you again.
And you. I'm very glad that Kirst has called us TNT.
Yeah, because we're explosive. We could,
Absolutely.
we could go on for hours, but
Definitely. I mean, I don't think this half an hour is big enough for the both of us, to be honest.
No, we need like at least minimum 45 minutes, and then we can talk.
Exactly. If this is the first time that you're joining us, welcome. And if you didn't know, this is a live and interactive experience. So send through your questions and your comments. We'd love to hear from you. And we go through some of the cool clips from the week, or sometimes not even just the week, but sometimes we have themes. But today it's just some really special, nice sightings that we've had over the last few weeks. Some extending a little further back. But before we get into our first clip, let's go through some hellos, which we've got already. We've got Rosa Torres Bravo says, hello from Houston, Texas. Thank you for this wonderful program. You look forward to it every week. That's really nice to know. Zygote, you say, hi, Trishala and Taylor. Hi, Zygote. Dear NC, you say, good morning, Trish and Taylor, from a rainy Seattle. You've got your coffee in hand and you're ready for an exciting show. I hope that we will meet your expectations. Aussie Jan 2, you say, good afternoon. You made it with your coffee ready. Well, I hope that you're ready for this first clip. This is a really interesting one, and I haven't seen it. Taylor hasn't seen it, but it's a hyena who has taken an interest in a wildebeest at Tau. So let's have a look.
Oh, like see 3 pairs of eyes there.
Exactly.
Well, this is quite interesting. It must be a little jackal that's also just sitting at the back with a hyena and the wildebeest. Oh, does that wildebeest have a bit of a limp? It does.
Looks like it. You think the pair of eyes in the back was a jackal, Taylor?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
yes,
looks like just a jackal sitting down in the grass, which is quite typical of them, especially out in the open like this.
You can see the shape of the ears sometimes as well when it turns.
Ooh. I like how that wildebeest is being sort of quite confrontational, like right off the bat, even though it's got a limp, as if to say, hey, don't even think about whatever you're trying. I'm going to chase you.
Yeah, I think definitely that's the way to go. As opposed to being defensive, it's better to take the offensive route when you're injured in the wild.
That's pretty impressive, though, with that hyena, that it has figured out, though, that it has got some kind of an injury. And hyenas, gosh, you've never met a more persistent animal before. And I would be a little bit on the nervous side. I suppose with one hyena, it's fine. But if there were some more individuals of the clan that joined in, then this wildebeest could really find itself in a spot of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's quite lucky in this situation. That felt quite tense, even though as we're looking at it, it seems that nobody is really having a go at the other. There's no actual touching or combat in any way, but the feeling there was it could have gone badly for that wildebeest if that hyena decided that it wanted to call the rest of the clan, and especially since the hyena can still do that because the wildebeest is clearly not going to go anywhere very quickly.
No, not at all. No, I mean, can you imagine? Middle of night, hyenas obviously got the upper hand in terms of seeing things. And yeah, I suppose being out in the open area is probably a better place to be, which is something that the wildebeest has on its side, that it can see, more shapes. And I don't know how much light was around that evening. But yeah, I wouldn't like to be in that place. And I definitely would have taken the same strategy as that wildebeest, rather gone, okay, get out of here, sort of yelled at it and showed how strong it is and that it's still fit and fine. But also, even with animals with injuries, it's so crazy to see how when they absolutely have to, obviously, like you said, it was a tense scene, but that wildebeest didn't have to do the fight or flight thing, just yet. and sort of just tasting the waters. But how animals with like, oh, I'm being attacked by a fly, sorry. How animals with injuries will just get up and, you know, adrenaline kicks in, how, you know, they, yeah, good luck. Wildebeest
Yeah.
probably get away if it really had to. Good for the
Yeah, I mean,
wildebeest.
it's insane some of the ways in which animals that you think if you had your belly open and your guts were lying on the ground, you'd be incapacitated, as good as dead. But you see it out in the wild. Animals that still have their intestines out of their body are still reacting and being offensive in their attack, and it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think that was quite impressive.
Do
I'm
we know?
really
You
sorry
just
that
gave
I'm
us
doing all these.
this cross-eyed version of you, which was quite entertaining.
There's a fly. I'm so sorry. There's horse stables like right where I live, so the flies are quite hectic in summer. And there's one that's persistent and is insisting on literally going up my nostrils. So that is why I have to fight back. I'm in a fight or flight situation, but unfortunately I can't get up and leave. So I'm just going to have to. I'm going to try and punch
But
the fly.
at least you've learned from this wildebeest that you better be
I've
offensive
seen.
about it.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Gemma, you say good day all. Just back from a morning walk here in New Jersey, USA. You're ready to be whisked off to Africa for some wild moments. Oh, we're glad to be whisking you away. Jirel, you say good day from a much wanted sunny morning from Toronto. Hello and a good day to you. You've got your coffee in hand and you're ready to explore with lovely ladies. Well, thank you. Mindy Tillapau. Hi, Mindy. You say it's the Thelma and Louise of the bush. Yay. Yes. And then Chris says hi, Trishala and Taylor. And of course, Bob from Kalamazoo says hello, Taylor and Trisha. Happy Thursday to us. And then we've also got Alison in Liverpool in the UK. You say hello, ladies. And Amber Coe says you just got here to see this amazing wildebeest and hyena. Thank you for your time and happy Thursday to all. Indeed, a happy Thursday to everybody. Let's move on to our next really cool clip. This is a little baby Ellie at Tau as well. Seems to have gotten itself in a bit of a spot. All seems pretty normal for now.
Oh, but look at that. There's one little elephant on the left-hand side of the screen. Uh-oh.
Yep.
What are you going to go and do? Oh, now it's being pushed in by the other. Oh, no, look at... Oh, no, you're a bit stuck.
You can kind of see from the movements when that panic sets in.
Mm-hmm.
Becomes more frantic.
Oh, there's some vocalizations too. Oh, shame, it looks like it must be so slippery for that little one to just try and climb out. A bit too steep.
Oh, shame.
Oh, there we go. Almost. Come on, Mum.
Oh, goodness, at the exact moment we reacted, the elephants reacted too.
It's amazing to see how they've all moved away from the water's edge, though. You know, as if to be like, okay, here's your space. We'll move out of your way. We'll drink in a bit. That was impressive. It was so great. It was like such a perfect example to see, obviously, how elephants interact and how they are so helpful with one another. Oh,
Yeah,
shame, that poor little
absolutely.
elephant.
Everyone just kind of stopped, got closer to the elephant, stopped drinking, priority changed in that moment when that panic set in. Everybody knew, hey, we got to get this calf out. And I think it's, like you said, such a wonderful example of the cohesiveness in a herd.
Yeah,
That was just
it just makes me giggle though, because I mean, I don't know how deep the dam really is, and just by looking at it, it doesn't look that steep. I think it was just a particularly tricky spot, and
yeah.
you know, we really see elephants start to panic, you know, when they get stuck in mud Or another one that I've seen personally is when they're crossing big river systems, fast flowing rivers, and little elephants end up getting washed away, from underneath the trunk of the mother. Then that is absolute panic, how you'll see elephants that have made it to the bank running downstream, trying to assist in that regard. And yeah, I think that little elephant was that panicked. I don't know if you looked to the left as they sort of moved off to the left, the ground looked like they'd leveled out quite a bit, and I'm sure it would have been able to have walked out itself. But when you're that young, the first thing you do is kick and scream and, ask for help. Probably
Yeah,
easier.
and the moment when you realize that you can't get up with your first effort,
Yeah.
and suddenly your second effort's not working, then it's just panic. And I mean, I know with my brother that there have been many a time when we'd be pushed into a situation because he decides to push me into it, and then he gets away unscathed, and I'm left panicking. And that kind of looks like what happened there. One similarly aged friend came along and said, hey, let's get in here, let's get a little closer, and was gone in no time. As soon as the little one was struggling, no, out of here, not my problem.
I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah. This was not me. I had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, well, you're all on your own. Lucky for that elephant.
It's so cute to see baby elephants having these experiences, because obviously these are important experiences for elephants. This is how they learn. But it is quite funny, unfortunately.
I think they do, and they panic so quickly. Like, they're just so quick to vocalize, and because, like you said, those bonds are so tight within the herd, everybody reacts quite dramatically, right off the forefront. It's not like, oh, okay, we'll just sort of see how the situation pans out. Oh, protective circle, everybody out the water, and it's just always so dramatic, and it escalates so quickly when it comes to the elephants. But obviously that was a nice, happy situation, and we can obviously have a bit of a giggle about it afterwards.
Exactly, and I hope that they are giggling about it too. Tim, you would like to know, would a crocodile not see that baby Ellie as prey? The crocodile might. Just in general, there are certain predators in particular areas in Africa that will specialize in taking down baby elephants, young calves. I know there are groups of lions, etc., that would do that. But every animal will innately get very scared if they are stuck in water, because it means that an apex predator is around. So even though a crocodile may not be able to take down and kill that elephant, generally speaking, it could still sustain injuries. It could still be a very traumatic event for the animal. So it's still going to react in panic. But I don't think, this was at Tau, and I know that there are crocodiles around there. And it might have piqued their interest, like anything that drops into the water would, but I don't think that it would have actually gone for the calf, given that all the other individuals were around too. What do you think, Taylor?
I think in that moment there was just a lot of chaos. I have seen a crocodile grab an elephant's tail before in the Zambezi River, and which was quite intense. And there's been quite a bit of video footage of crocodiles taking elephants like by the trunk and holding on when they're drinking waters. This is typically in like pretty big river systems. It's not to say that it wouldn't happen in a dam. So they are chance takers. They're the apex predators on this planet. Them and sharks. Yeah, they've been around for the longest for a good reason. So I think in that situation, unlikely that anything would sort of happen to it. What I would have loved to have seen though is to have followed those elephants for a little bit longer to see how quickly the temporal gland would have started secreting, because normally after a stressful situation like that with all the individuals, it comes, I don't know how quickly it happens. I think maybe it depends on elephant to elephant, but it would have been nice to have seen how stressful was that situation really for the adults. Was it enough to stimulate those temporal glands and release that liquid? Or, were the adults like, it's not that bad, and we knew we were going to get the little one out anyways. It was just a bit of drama coming from the youngster, a bit of, cries for help.
I think that that's an interesting point, because it can tell us a lot about what the relationship, or how different the perception is for the calf and for the adult.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we have Okay. Let's go on to the next. Oh, there we go. Awesome.
Oh, cool. This is new. Thanks,
This
Tim.
is right now.
Oh, no,
This is
did Tim not say that? Oh, no.
this is so cool. So, obviously, we're doing wild moments, and this is when we look through all the clips. But right now on the Naledi Dam, this is live. There's a lioness come down to drink right now, live. So why not show it to you? Ah, this is amazing.
And she looks like she's using a very well-worn pathway that many animals have used before her. I'm quite curious to see. Turn, do you have suckle marks? Why are you by yourself? Where's the rest of your pride? What are you doing?
But also, I didn't see suckle marks, but I did see that her mammary glands or the milk ducts were looking quite heavy towards the back there. She was looking quite
did
heavy.
you? Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Because that's quite interesting. Oh, and does she have a limp or she got a paper thorn in her foot? Because I know that it's been quite entertaining watching the cats at the moment with all the paper thorns around. They've all been pulling them out their feet. That'd explain why she's on her own. Not to say that lionesses don't just wander around on their own. Like, you know, there's obviously lots of exceptions to the stereotypical rules. But yeah, moving around, it's still quite hot outside. The sun hasn't really set. At all. Quite interesting. Maybe she's going to give birth or has already.
So she is from the Takazile pride, and this pride has 5 cubs, so it might be one of the cubs' mothers.
Ah, okay. Yes, there we go. That explains it.
Yay, we're on it. We're on it. We saw something hanging there. we were on the right track. How cool was that? Just a little live insert right there, happening right now. I think that's so cool.
Anyway, that was very cool. That was nice.
She has moved off now. Miss Parker, you say, I'm late. You're lovely to see these beautiful ladies on screen. I thought you were going to say that beautiful lioness, but I am pleasantly surprised. Gosh, I lost the word pleasantly for a moment. Thanks, Miss Parker. Okay, that was cool. Let's move on to our next clip. It's a couple of elephants. You know, we've been chatting about elephants, how they can get into a panic, but they can also get really interested in quite random creatures and happenings around a waterhole. So let's have a look. Oh, I love this spot at Tembe. It just kind of came out of nowhere once the rains came, which is so cool.
Wait.
Oh no.
Hey. Look at these balls.
It's like they're playing table tennis.
It is. But unfortunate for what is that, a jacana, an African jacana, yeah. Oh no. That is quite interesting, though, that the bird is not opting to move away. I wonder if there is either a floating nest or there are young chicks. I don't know what's on the surface of the water, if it's hyacinth or what particular kind of weed it is, but that's unusual for that bird to not be, moving out of those giants' way.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and they're going to tussle as well. Did you see how it had its wings out like, hey, guys, as if it was a referee at some point?
Exactly. So I've seen this before, not with a jacana though, with a slightly bigger bird, but I was in Kenya and there was a herd of elephants moving through some of the wetland systems, which are prominent in the Mara Triangle, side of the Masai Mara. And there was a pair of crowned cranes, grey crowned cranes, and they're quite a large bird. And it's very similar thing happened. There was a nest, and they were defending the nest because the elephants were just going to barge through it. And I don't think that they are necessarily going to destroy the nest on purpose, but elephants are quite large and collateral damage. And this bird, and I don't know if it was the male or female, but had its wings out, like not letting this elephant move in the direction. It sort of flew at it, jumped up, but very consistently, like the jacana, obviously just much larger, eventually pushed the entire herd of elephants away and made them move through a different area. And I've seen the same thing with blacksmith lapwings and big herds of buffalo, nests on the ground, coming down to drink. and literally,
Yeah.
turning a whole herd of buffalo. I've also got some like great photos and great videos of that happening. So I'm assuming that's what happened. Otherwise, the jacana would have just flown away. There's no ways that
Yeah.
that small bird would have risked its life, to be squashed to play a game of table tennis, as you so put it.
Same. And again, it's funny to watch, but for that jacana in that moment, it was about its clutch essentially, and about it being able to do what its life is about, which is to reproduce and make sure that its particular individual genes get pushed forward to the next generation. So that was an intense moment for the jacana.
Absolutely.
But and if you noticed at the end, the two bulls started to fight each other. So already there must have been a lot going on. So in terms of hormones, so there are already two males. They're going to play fight.
Yeah.
There we go.
And you can see that the one on the right is definitely like, secreting from its temporal glands. I know that we all know that that doesn't mean that that elephant bull is musk, but with it being an overstimulation of adrenaline, it could be a number of things. So I think he was just maybe in a bit of a mood and did you see that? As that elephant bull on the left flicked his trunk the first time, how the one on the right twisted his trunk as if to say, I'm so sorry, excuse me, kind of like he passed a remark, but that comment wasn't made for you, elephant on the right with the big tusks. I mean, yeah, it was actually quite interesting to see. I think there was some classic miscommunication that went on over there.
Yeah. And when elephants get irritated like this with random other animals at a waterhole, we don't know if they'd been irritated previously, if they're already in a heightened state or whatever that is affecting their behavior. And here we kind of saw it linearly and just presented to us. There's already something going on. Poor jacana got in the way. Shame.
Yeah. Misplaced aggression.
Trainer Matt 51, you say good morning from North Carolina, USA. Hello, Trainer Matt. Rolling Trouble, welcome. You're late, but you made it. Thank you for joining us. Kim Hai, you say, do the eggs survive on water lilies? What if they fall? I don't think those are water lilies. They don't look like water lilies, but you mean vegetation. And I must say that I'm not very familiar with jacanas. I haven't managed to spend a lot of time with them. But it seems that if this wasn't a strategy that worked, and if things were constantly rolling into the water, then ultimately they would go extinct, but they haven't. Taylor has a lot more experience with jacanas. I'm sure you can speak to it.
So I think, Kim, what sort of happens there is there are quite a few different bird species that make floating nests, but they don't just lay their eggs necessarily on top of the vegetation. They'll bring other vegetation to reinforce that nest itself. So we see it with coots and moorhens. They all do something quite similar. So they'll just keep bringing vegetation back, make a little safe nest. But it can be either on water lilies, and because those birds are so light and those nests don't weigh very much at all, and with the great surface area on the water that is provided by the sort of leaves, that's fine. But I think there's some elements of water lilies. However, I think most of it looks like hyacinth, which is unfortunately, I stand to be corrected though, but it's a highly invasive, weed that's found its ways into African waterways. And, you probably won't find there's very many fish species in that dam just because it doesn't look like it's getting any light, and which means that there's not going to be a lot of oxygen and a number of things. So I actually think that is going to be quite well matted. I mean, you saw when those elephants were sort of moving through it, it was kind of holding, its form quite well.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what it is about a float nest. If you imagine like a rubber dinghy floating on the water, any movement in the water, the float is just going to move with it. So it's not going to just suddenly capsize because, like you said, of the surface area. And also, it's not like they're building a mound and then placing the eggs on top of the mound. There is some sort of safety in terms of the shape, like a slight depression that helps the eggs to stay on the float and not roll off. I hope that answers your question. Oh, grumpy old man, you say badminton with the jacana. Yes, it's very aerodynamic. Perfect shuttlecock.
Yeah, did you see the fancy footwork that jacana had? Because it was just like, where are you going to go? I'm going to, and just moving out the way. the anticipation that it had of where the elephant's trunks were going to go was quite. Hey, look at it. I mean, that's close. Those elephants are flicking their trunks really quickly.
Yes.
I wonder if actually, as I look at it, I wonder if. I know they must. I'm like, do you even realize what's going on, elephants? Do you realize that the Jacana is there? Yeah. Look at them being cheeky. That's just mean.
Yeah.
Oh no, don't do that. Wait. That is so impressive. Oh, there we go.
And you'll find that
It's actually very entertaining.
when birds are defending their nest like that, they're not doing it at the nest. They have some level of forethought, and they tend to move a little forward to give them a bit of a buffer zone. So as those elephants moved through, they weren't smashing the nest most likely. That jacana was probably a little further ahead, preempting what was about to happen. Shame.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we have a brand new camp, which I'm so excited about. It is the one at Stony Point. So we haven't gotten an opportunity to talk about penguins during Wild Moments yet, and this is it. So let's go over and have a look at the first penguin clip to make it onto Wild Moments.
Sure. Excuse me. That wasn't the penguin.
I really enjoy penguins. How do you feel about penguins, Taylor?
I honestly have not spent much time with penguins. I think I've been to Betty's Bay once in Cape Town, and I've had a look at them. They smell, and they are quite loud. I'm assuming this is the African penguin. Because my knowledge on identifying penguins is from what was that movie where the penguins all go walking, the animated one? Those were
Happy Feet.
Happy Feet. So what ones were those? Were those king penguins? I think I know those ones and the African penguin, and that's about it.
This is our very own African penguin. So Stony Point is one of two mainland colonies of penguins, and the other one being Boulders Beach in Simonstown, but both here in Cape Town. So I have been lucky enough to spend time with them, and I must say, at first, I thought that, like you, they were very smelly and didn't do much. But then they grew on me. And if you have a look at this one right now, you can see that it's looking a bit like a puffed up, torn up cushion. And that's because it's molting. It's got a whole lot of loose feathers. Yeah.
Tiny little feathers, I suppose, in comparison to what I'm used to seeing on the different bird species.
Yeah. Very small feathers. Yeah, shame. It does look a little bit sad, and as it should be, because when they're molting, they can't go hunting because their feathers are normally waterproof and really well stacked against their bodies. But when they're molting, it's just fraying and everything's coming out, so they've just got to wait, and they fast throughout that whole molting period. So it can't go hunting, but it will fatten up before the molting period starts, but they'll lose quite a bit of body weight during that time too.
Would you call that process where they start fattening up? Obviously, migratory birds, before they travel, we call it hyperphagy, where they, eat more than they normally would. Could you use that term to describe that that behavior, or do you think that's specifically to migratory birds?
I haven't seen it used in any of the literature for penguins, but it might be because that type of behavior is not only seen when they're molting. It also happens if they have chicks, things like that. If once they reach their juvenile plumage, which is really quite interesting. So once a chick is born, is emerged from its capsule of egg, it is downy, and then it goes through a first molt in which it gets its juvenile plumage. Once that happens, it's ready to fledge. And then it goes away from the colony for about 1 to up to almost 2 years on its own. Wow. It's kind of this rite of passage, and they don't they may meet up with other penguins along the way, but during that period, you can find them randomly scattered along the coastline. I remember driving to Scarborough just because I like to look at the rock pools there, and this random penguin showed up, this juvenile penguin, and they that whole 2 years, it's either like they make it or they break it, and
Oh,
once
wow.
they're done, they return back to their home colony, and that's only when they molt into their adult plumage. They have a really, really interesting life history, and when you see those juveniles come back from that period, they can sometimes look quite thin, and other times they
Okay.
look really fat. So I guess because that kind of feeding behavior, that hyperphagy, eating a lot, happens periodically at different times of their lives, not only associated with you know, migrating or
Yeah.
molting. Maybe that's why that term is not used.
Potentially, yeah. For those of you that are now really concerned that when birds molt that they can't fend for themselves, it's not all birds. I think it's with penguins,
Yeah.
they only do it once a year, once they reach adulthood. And then with a lot of other bird species, they might molt 2 to 3 times a year. And smaller bird species are nice and light. They don't lose all their feathers molt, shed all their feathers at once. So they can still fly and carry on. But a lot of the water birds, unfortunately, when they do molt, they are stuck on the surface. And that's not fun
Yeah.
when you're an Egyptian goose on the Zambezi River with lots of crocodiles. I've seen much panic, many Egyptian geese running and flapping their wings on the surface of the water trying to evade predation. I would like to not be a goose or a water bird.
Yes. I mean, there are very few people, I think, that would wish to be a water bird. Just something about it doesn't sound right.
No.
Anyway, we've reached the end of our time together, but let's just get through a few more comments before we say goodbye. Bill Grooms, you say greetings from South Carolina. Bill Grooms, you're a little bit late, but it's okay. We are very happy that you are on board with us and that you are in time to see the penguins on the new cam at Stony Point. Grumpy old man, you say you've just discovered this cam this week. Very cool. I'm glad. I mean, if you're continuing to watch that cam, try and keep an eye out for some identifying patches on the penguins, because that would be really cool to keep tabs on individuals. Christy, you say it's a nice cam. One penguin has lost a foot you saw last night, and he was trying to scramble up the rocks. I've seen quite a few of those, actually, but they seem to be doing okay, at least the ones that I've seen. But we can always keep an eye on that. That's a very identifying feature. Rolling Trouble, you say they're fun to watch. They certainly are. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our time together. Thank you, Taylor. It's always such a pleasure to have you on board. Such a pleasure.
Thank you very much. It was lovely. I enjoyed all the clips today. They were rather entertaining and some epic animal behavior.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us, and thank you for your questions and your comments. You know how much we love them and how much we love your support and your viewership. So thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon too. Well, not me so much, but we'll see you again as in Africam and Explore. Goodbye for now.
Cheers.